Well, joining me now are Andrew Marsh, Campaigns Director at Christian Concern, and John Fisher, Chairman of To Transplant and Beyond, who had a heart transplant 15 years ago. If I can just start with you, Andrew Marsh. When you see the images of that little boy playing after having a transplant, you must welcome anything that helps to increase the number of donors.
Well, that is a wonderful story, isn't it? And organ donation is an amazing thing. And we certainly want to celebrate with the thousands of people whose lives have been saved or improved as a result of organ donation. And certainly a campaign like this is very much welcomed and is definitely the way forward. It is the way of the future. And it's very exciting to see the dramatic and encouraging results that has already had. But in contrast to that, any move towards a system that relies upon so-called presumed consent must be resisted. Any step in that direction is unnecessary and unethical. It is open to abuse and it is dangerous and must be resisted.
We're going towards a system like that in Wales. That's going to be introduced in December of this year, where you're going to have to opt out if you don't want to donate. If I can just bring in John Fisher, what would you say to those words?
Well, we live in a democracy. 90% of the UK have shown that they would donate their organs. So surely the minority should opt out. It's still a choice. I think with opt-out, it should be a soft option. So if the family say this person really didn't want to donate, then we should follow what the family say. But opt-out is certainly the way to go. You know, one donor can save or dramatically improve 9 lives.
Andrew Marsh, I mean, we've got nearly 7,000 people waiting for a possible donor. Apparently 3 people die every day while waiting. I mean, surely with statistics like that, we do perhaps need to look at more serious measures, perhaps the opt-out option.
Well, absolutely, we do want to see the numbers increase, and campaigns like this online one are the way forward. As I said, this a proposal towards so-called presumed consent is not the way forward. Let's deal first with this misnomer of presumed consent. Consent that is presumed is no consent at all in reality. If I said to you, or if at the end of this interview I took this microphone off, for example, and decided to take it home with me, and I was stopped at the door and the security guard challenged me, and I said, well, I presumed that you'd given me consent to take it, well, I'd be laughed out of the room and probably charged. That exposes the reality of this misnomer. Consent that is presumed is not consent at all. It's never been given. And that exposes one of the great flaws of this proposal. People are not actually being given the opportunity to consent. And that exposes to us the question of what actually it means to donate, to give. That's one of the beauties of organ donation, is that it is a free gift. As Christians, obviously, we look supremely to the example of Jesus Christ, who gave his life freely to bring life and freedom for others as he took the punishment that they deserve. But the key there is that he did so voluntarily. He gave his life freely. And if we move to a system where effectively there's a presumption that people will give, it isn't a genuine gift. We would better call organ donation organ coercion.
I'll bring in John Fisher there. So John Fisher, what would you say to that? That if you have an opt-out system, it's no longer a donation. It's as if the state has a right to just take this from you.
It's not the state with a right. I mean, you do have a choice. You can opt out, you know, and it's always there. I am saying soft option, so your family can still say no, even if you haven't opted out. And this idea of, you know, not taking a microphone off being theft. You know, if I order a cup of coffee, people always put 2 sugars on the side. I can decide if I'm going to put them in or not. It's still a choice, but people presume I want the sugar. You know,
but do you think it could perhaps cause more distress for families at a time when they're already dealing with the death of a loved one to then see their body being harvested, if you like, for organs?
I don't think so. It's something they should discuss. I mean, that's most important. Once you've joined the organ donor register, you do need to speak to your family and friends about your choice to make it easier. 95% of people who have discussed it before do say yes at the time they're asked, where those that haven't discussed it, it's 40% say no. So joining the organ donor register is important, but it's also very important to discuss your wishes with your family.
So bringing back Andrew Marsh, what would you suggest then as an alternative to the opt-out system, given that we do have this huge shortage of donors?
Well, I think campaigns like the one that we've heard about today are a very encouraging start. I think that needs to be expanded and perhaps more explicit through social media and other opportunities where people would have contact with those who can point them in the direction of the organ register.
But I think campaigns simply aren't enough, are they? We need more action, don't we?
Well, I think in other countries that don't have a presumed consent system, we have actually seen much higher rates of organ donation without any need to move to an opt-out system. Often that's to do with other factors, such as the attitude of those who approach families after a bereavement and talk through the options. That can actually, studies show, be a critical element in what the rate of organ donation is. And I have to say, I do find the argument that is often made by proponents of opt-out systems self-defeating in a sense, because if we're struggling to communicate with people the benefits of organ donation, that they have an opportunity to opt in, why is it that we think that in an opt-out system where the moral responsibility would be on us to explain to people that they have the right to opt out, why would we be any more effective at communicating that to them then? To be morally acceptable, an opt-out system would require that every person actually has at some stage had chance to think through the issues. But if every person has concretely done that, well, we have no need for an opt-out system. People can simply opt in. So better communication is the way forward.
John Fisher, can I just ask you for a quick response to that?
Well, transplantation does save lives. More people will donate and lives will be saved. My donor saved the lives of 5 people. That was 15 years ago. So opt-out is definitely the way to go. And people will know, if you are definitely against transplantation, people will not have to tell you to opt out. If you're against something, you are going to opt out. And if you don't, we're still going to let your family say no.
John Fisher, Andrew Marsh, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you both very much for talking to us here at Sky News.
Thanks for your time.